Ethan's Ascent, from Janitor to Aerospace Engineer. Ethan Reed stood at the edge of the spaceport, his eyes locked on the towering rocket that would soon launch astronauts into orbit. The cheers of the crowd echoed around him, but Ethan barely heard them. His thoughts were elsewhere, on the journey that had brought him to this moment. Born in a forgotten corner of rural Montana, Ethan's early life was a battle against poverty. His father, a factory worker, lost his job when Ethan was 9, and his mother struggled to make ends meet with part-time jobs. They lived in a rundown trailer, and there were nights when dinner consisted of nothing but canned beans. Despite the hardships, Ethan's curiosity was boundless. He spent hours dismantling broken radios and repairing old appliances he salvaged from junkyards. At night, he lay on the roof of their trailer, staring at the stars and dreaming of space. But dreams seemed out of reach in his world. By the time Ethan was 16, financial pressures forced him to drop out of high school and take a job as a janitor at a local aerospace company, Orion Industries. Cleaning hallways and emptying trash bins, he watched engineers through glass windows as they worked on blueprints and tested rocket components. Curiosity amid dust and grime. Ethan's shifts often stretched into the late hours, but he lingered long after work to study the diagrams engineers left behind in meeting rooms. He jotted down notes in a battered notebook he carried everywhere, trying to decipher the equations and technical sketches. One evening, while scrubbing the floor outside the testing lab, Ethan overheard an argument between two engineers about a faulty valve design. Unable to resist, he timidly suggested a modification based on something he had read in an old mechanics book. At first, the engineers laughed. What could a janitor know about rocket systems? But one of them, Dr. Maria Levin, decided to test Ethan's idea. To everyone's surprise, it worked. Impressed by his insight, Dr. Levin began leaving engineering textbooks and technical manuals near Ethan's cleaning cart. "No one's born a genius," she told him one evening. "You just need the right tools." The self-taught engineer. Ethan devoured every book she gave him. He spent his breaks solving equations and teaching himself physics. When Dr. Levin realized how quickly he was learning, she offered to mentor him, sneaking him into after-hours training sessions. It wasn't easy. Ethan still worked double shifts to support his family, often falling asleep over equations. He faced ridicule from co-workers who dismissed his ambitions as foolish dreams. But he refused to give up. Over the next 2 years, Ethan earned his GED and enrolled in night classes at a community college. He studied relentlessly, using the notes and sketches he collected during his janitorial shifts. Dr. Levin continued to guide him, writing recommendation letters that eventually helped him transfer to a top engineering school. The Breakthrough Project. After graduating with honors, Ethan returned to Orion Industries, not as a janitor, but as a junior engineer. At first, many of his former colleagues doubted him, treating him as an outsider who didn't belong. But Ethan let his work speak for itself. He poured himself into his first major project, designing fuel-efficient propulsion systems for satellites. His innovations not only reduced costs but also made launches safer. Within 3 years, he was promoted to lead engineer and began working on the company's most ambitious project, a manned Mars exploration program. But the path wasn't without setbacks. During a critical test, one of Ethan's designs failed, delaying the project by months and costing millions. The board of directors questioned his qualifications, and for the first time, Ethan considered quitting. It was Dr. Levin who reminded him of how far he had come. "You didn't get here by giving up when things got hard," she said. Inspired, Ethan returned to the lab, analyzing every detail until he found the flaw and fixed it. The launch that changed everything. Years of dedication culminated in the day Ethan had dreamed of since childhood, the launch of the Orion Voyager, the first spacecraft built for Mars exploration. As chief engineer, Ethan stood at the control center, overseeing every detail. When the countdown began, he thought about the nights he spent stargazing from the roof of his trailer. The moment the rocket lifted off, tears welled in his eyes. It wasn't just a victory for science, it was a triumph of perseverance. A legacy beyond engineering. Ethan didn't stop at personal success. He established the Reed Foundation, funding scholarships for underprivileged students interested in STEM fields. He also launched mentorship programs, partnering with schools to inspire the next generation of engineers. His story became the subject of books, documentaries, and interviews. But when asked about his journey, Ethan always pointed back to the dusty hallways of Orion Industries. "Dreams don't come with instruction manuals," he often said. "You build them one piece at a time." Years later, Ethan stood on the same launch pad, this time watching the Voyager 2 rocket prepare for departure. Beside him was a young girl named Ava, one of his scholarship recipients. She was now a junior engineer at Orion. As the countdown reached 0, Ava turned to Ethan and asked, "Did you ever imagine this moment?" He smiled. "I imagined it every single day." The rocket ignited, and as it soared into the sky, Ethan knew his legacy wasn't just in the machines he built, it was in the people he had inspired to reach for the stars.